They mocked her at the gun store, then the commander burst in and saluted her. The bell above the gun store door rang softly. A few heads turned, but only for a second. She didn't look like someone worth noticing. Dressed in plain clothes, boots slightly dusty, hair tied back without care, she walked slowly between the racks of rifles and pistols. Her eyes weren't wandering. They were focused, measuring, calm. Behind a counter, two men exchanged smirks. One leaned toward the other and whispered, just loud enough, "Looks like she got lost on the way to the coffee shop." They laughed. She heard them. She didn't react, because people who carry real authority don't need to announce it. Welcome to United War. The gun store was popular with off-duty soldiers, hunters, and tactical enthusiasts. Walls lined with weapons, glass cases filled with polished steel, a place where confidence often turned into arrogance. She stopped near a rifle display. "Can I help you?" the clerk asked, his tone dripping with impatience. "I'm looking for a precision rifle, long range, custom adjustments." The men behind the counter froze for a moment, then laughed again. "Sure you are," one replied. "You know those aren't toys, right?" Another customer chimed in, grinning. "Maybe she wants it for decoration." More laughter. She turned slightly, her eyes steady, voice level. "I want to inspect the bolt assembly." That earned another chuckle. "Lady," the clerk said, shaking his head, "these rifles are for professionals." She nodded once. "I know." They didn't ask her name. They didn't ask her background. They assumed. And assumptions are dangerous. She moved closer to the counter, examining the rifle through the glass without touching it. Her gaze lingered on details most people missed: barrel harmonics, trigger alignment, scope calibration. One of the men crossed his arms. "You planning to shoot paper targets or just take selfies with it?" She finally looked up. Not angry, not defensive, just calm. "I'm planning to qualify a unit next week." The store went quiet for half a second, then laughter exploded again. "Qualify a unit? Yeah, okay. Sure, Commander." The word commander was thrown like an insult. She didn't correct them. Instead, she stepped back, hands behind her back, posture straight without effort. Outside, a low rumble echoed down the street. Engines. Military engines. The laughter slowly faded. The bell rang again, hard this time. The door burst open. A man in full uniform stepped inside, followed by two soldiers. His presence changed the air instantly. Conversations stopped. Smiles vanished. The clerk stiffened. Can we help you, sir?" The officer's eyes scanned the room. Then they locked onto her. He stopped, stood straight, and without hesitation, he raised his hand and saluted. The room froze. Absolute silence. And in that moment, every assumption shattered. No one spoke. The salute hung in the air like a shockwave. The clerk's smile vanished. One of the customers slowly lowered his phone. The men who had been laughing moments ago now stood frozen, eyes locked on the uniformed commander whose posture was rigid with respect. She turned calmly, not startled, not surprised. She returned the salute, precise, effortless, perfect. "Commander," she said. The word landed hard. The officer lowered his hand and addressed the room, his voice firm. "Colonel Mira Lawson, Senior Weapons Evaluation Officer, United States Armed Forces." The color drained from the clerk's face. Someone swallowed loudly. The men who had mocked her moments earlier suddenly understood the weight of their mistake. Colonel Lawson stepped forward, her boots echoing against the store's floor. "I was told this store carried a precision rifle capable of sub-MOA accuracy at extended range," she said evenly. The clerk scrambled. Yes, ma'am, Colonel, sir, I mean..." She raised a hand. "No apologies necessary," she said. just the rifle. The commander glanced at the clerk, his expression unreadable. Colonel Lawson oversees qualification standards for 3 operational units, he added. If she's here, it's because performance matters. The message was clear. This wasn't a hobby. This wasn't curiosity. This was duty. The rifle was placed on the counter, carefully now. Hands that once mocked now trembled. Colonel Lawson inspected it methodically. She checked the trigger pull, the scope alignment, the bolt travel. She didn't rush. The room watched in silence. "Your 0 is off," she said at last. The clerk blinked. What? 3 clicks left, 2 down. Your store calibration is compensating for poor lighting, not true distance. The commander's eyebrow lifted slightly. No one laughed this time. One of the earlier customers cleared his throat. "Ma'am, do you, shoot competitively?" She looked at him. "I train people who go where competition doesn't exist." Silence. The meaning settled heavily. This wasn't about ego anymore. This was about consequence. Colonel Lawson turned to the commander. "I'll need this rifle on the range, today." "Yes, ma'am," he replied instantly. The men who had mocked her stepped back, unsure where to look. Their jokes echoed in their minds now, sharp, embarrassing, irreversible. She paused at the door and glanced back, not with anger, but with something far more unsettling. Calm authority.
The outdoor range was quiet when they arrived. Too quiet. A wide stretch of land opened beyond the firing line. Targets positioned at varying distances, 300 meters, 600 meters, and one barely visible at the far edge of the range. Wind flags fluttered lazily, then snapped sharply, shifting without warning. The kind of conditions professionals respected, the kind amateurs feared. Colonel Mira Lawson stood still, studying the terrain like it was a language she already spoke fluently. The men from the gun store lingered behind the safety line, silent now, their earlier confidence replaced with uneasy curiosity. The commander approached her. "Targets are live, ma'am. Range is yours." She nodded once. No speeches, no warnings, no theatrics. She lay prone, settling into position with practiced ease. The rifle fit her like it belonged there. Her breathing slowed. Her world narrowed to wind, distance, and timing. The onlookers held their breath. The first shot rang out. A sharp metallic ping echoed back. The closest target dropped. No celebration. She adjusted slightly, recalculating without lifting her eye from the scope. The wind shifted. She waited. The second shot followed. Another ping. Another target fell, clean, precise, unforgiving. A murmur rippled through the observers. The far target remained, smaller, harder, almost mocking. She paused longer this time. The wind flag snapped hard to the left. She smiled, just barely. The third shot cracked through the air. Time seemed to stretch. Then, impact. The distant target fell backward, perfectly struck. 3 shots, 3 targets, 3 distances. Flawless. The range was silent again. Behind her, one of the men whispered, That's impossible." The commander didn't turn. "No," he said quietly. "That's experience." Colonel Lawson rose smoothly, clearing the rifle with the same calm precision she'd used to fire it. She turned to face them. "This rifle will pass, barely. Adjust your tolerances." The clerk nodded, speechless. She walked past them, not waiting for praise, because she didn't need it. Her authority wasn't granted by uniforms or salutes. It was earned, one decision, one shot, one moment at a time.
No one moved for several seconds. The sound of the last shot still seemed to echo in the air, even though the range had fallen silent. The targets lay motionless, proof of something none of them would ever forget. Colonel Mira Lawson stood calmly, adjusting the sling of the rifle before handing it back to the commander. "Log the results," she said, "and update the store's certification." "Yes, ma'am," he replied instantly. The men from the gun store exchanged glances, faces tight with regret. Back inside the store, everything felt different. The same walls, the same rifles, but none of the same confidence. Colonel Lawson stepped to the counter once more. This time, no one laughed. No one smirked. Every movement around her was careful, respectful. The clerk cleared his throat. "Colonel, I owe you an apology." She looked at him, not coldly, not kindly, honestly. "You owe better judgment," she said. "Not to me, to anyone who walks through that door." The words cut deeper than anger ever could. One of the men who had mocked her earlier spoke up, voice low. "We didn't think." "That's exactly the problem," she interrupted. "In my line of work, assumptions get people killed." Silence followed. The commander stepped forward. "Colonel Lawson trains units that operate where second chances don't exist. Remember that." They nodded. They would remember. As she turned to leave, the bell above the door rang again. Soft this time. She paused briefly. "You sell weapons here," she said without turning around. "Respect should come standard with them." Then she walked out. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the pavement. The commander fell into step beside her. "They won't forget today," he said. She nodded once. "They shouldn't." Narrator. They mocked her because they didn't know who she was. They fell silent when they learned. But what mattered most wasn't the salute, it was the lesson. True authority doesn't demand respect, it earns it. The camera pulls back as Colonel Mira Lawson walks away, steady and unshaken. The United War logo fades in.